All right. The cloud is running. So here we are, folks. The practice date is here. Uh, if you didn't know, even though the practice change date is on the 17th, MetroList did it yesterday, actually. I thought they were going to do it today, but they did it yesterday. So what that means is that the commission field's missing from the MLS. You cannot make any mention of shared or co-op commissions anywhere on the MLS. You shouldn't make any mention of that anywhere. And moving forward, if you're going to work with a buyer, if you're going to work with a buyer in any way, shape, or form, I say you've got to have now the BRBC. It's official, right? So let's talk about a couple of those things just so that we're really, really clear, because I am seeing all kinds of stuff on social media and the internet about commissions. Look, even after everything that we've seen on commissions and talked about commissions up to this date, there are still those in the world, and there are a lot of them in the world that are trying to figure out a way to, on the down low, offer some kind of commission, right? I'm seeing people are putting tags on the keys in the lockbox, okay? People have all these little signs that they add in. You know, they're just doing all this stuff that really is totally unnecessary. Okay, number one. And number two is probably going to get them in some kind of trouble, right? Um, I'm sorry, but if you put a key tag on a key in a lockbox that says 2.5% and somebody snaps a picture of it and sends it to the MLS, you're going to have some kind of issue, right? And for what reason would you do that? Because if you do what we say to do, or how we think it should go, which is submit a request for compensation with your offer, it doesn't really matter what's on the key tag anyways, right? You're going to submit the request for compensation like we've talked about 100 times before. It's going to get submitted. It has to be submitted. You understand that. That request has to be submitted to the seller from the listing agent. They can't take that out of the package and put it off to the side. It has to be submitted, so it's going to get consideration. I haven't talked to, and all of the stuff that is going on is proof that listing agents as a whole are on the same page. And that page is, Mr. Seller, you're going to need to pay something. Okay, it makes sense for you to pay something. You're gonna need to do that. It's smart business. So it's out there. Yes, there are a few people that are going to try and go farm a bunch of listings by telling sellers, hey, look, you don't have to pay this anymore. I'm going to do it for super, super cheap. You're not going to pay a buyer's side commission. It's going to be great, right? There's this whole thing, hashtag race to the bottom, going on in the real estate industry. Does everybody understand the race to the bottom concept? Let's all see how fast, as real estate agents, we can cut our own income completely out of the equation and get to the point where we're saying we'll list a house for a flat fee of $500 and you'll never have to pay a buyer's broker's commission and you'll keep all the money. Does that sound like a good idea to anybody? Me either, right? Those people, we have to understand that that's going to be out there. That's going to be a process. People are going to panic right now. They're going to have to they're going to think, this is the only way I can gather up all the business. This is the path of least resistance for me. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to offer a flat fee discount, nothing. I'm going to tell the seller we don't need to pay a buyer's brokerage commission. We don't need to pay that money. The seller gets to keep all that. I'm going to do all these listings. I'm going to do all this volume at this flat fee price, and it's going to be great. Mark my words, in 6 months, they're all gone. They'll be gone. Okay. So we've got to stomach that. We've got to get through it. We've got to know that. And like I've said about all other things, we've got to be prepared to respond to that. Right? So, as an example, if I'm a seller and Steve wants to list my house and he comes in with his listing presentation, Steve, generally speaking, when we talk about commission percentage on your listing presentation, what are you asking the seller to pay you?
$2.5.
Okay. So Steve's going to generally ask a seller to pay 2.5 or 3. I've seen him ask for 3 because he credits some of that commission back, and he plays with the marketing costs a little bit. He's very creative, but Steve wants 2.5. Now, what Steve's got to be prepared for is the seller to say, well, wait a minute. I just talked to Michael, and Michael said 2 things to me. The first thing he said was, I don't have to pay a commission to a buyer's agent. I'm going to save that money, which has typically been 2.5%. Michael's saving me that money. And number 2, Michael's going to do it for $1,500. He's going to list my house for $1,500, right? That is the new biggest, I'm going to call it an objection, even though it's not, that as potential listing agents, you're going to have to deal with. Mark my words. That is coming. It's coming fast. It's coming hard, and it's going to be out there. And that's the one thing that you've got to be prepared to do. So let me ask you this, all of you guys, who is prepared right now today to have that conversation and be successful? Cole, who's ready to do it? Anybody? Okay. That's where we go. That's where we go next. That's where we go next. Somebody get on your phone while we're doing this, and somebody send me an email. Send me an email where the subject line says, beat the shit out of the discounters. Because that'll be my next meeting. All right. I don't want to spend the whole time doing this right now, but that'll be my next meeting. We're going to talk about how you deal with that and how you get around that when somebody says, look, Mr. Seller, I know you want to use Damian. I know everybody wants to use Damian because he's great and all that stuff. But look, bottom line is he's going to tell you he wants 2.5%. He's going to tell you to be prepared to pay 2 to 2.5% to a buyer's broker. And I'm going to do it for you with no charge to the buyer's broker. And I'm going to do it for you for $2,500 or $3,000 flat fee. And you're going to save $18,000 if you go with me versus Damian. Okay. And at the next meeting, I'm going to tell you how to make all of that go away and tell somebody that you're going to charge them $18,000 more and get the business. Okay. But I want you to start thinking about it between now and then, because that is the next wave of BS that we'll all be dealing with. I promise you. All right. So circling back, when you're in that position as a listing agent right now, I don't want you under any circumstances to talk about any kind of shared commission, co-op commission, buyer's commission, none of that. I don't want you to talk about any of that. Here's how you respond when somebody asks you, hey, is there a commission, or is there a buyer's broker's commission? Or when somebody asks you that in any way, shape, or form, here's how I want you to respond. Hi, Cindy. I want you to say these words. Michael, what words are we going to say? Please submit your request on form SPBB, and I will submit it to the seller. That's it. And when they go, well, but what, how much or blah, blah, or, what are they willing or please submit your request on form SPBB and I will submit it to the seller. Okay. It's not our job to tell a buyer's agent how much they're worth. It's not our job anymore to tell a buyer's agent how much a seller is willing to pay. It's their job to do their homework, to find out what the market will bear, and to make that request. And ultimately, it's their job to negotiate that in the event that they don't like our response. Okay? Understand that while I'm talking to you about this, think about it on the flip side as the buyer's agent. Okay? Think about that. Let's turn it around. You're a buyer's agent. You already know that you're going to submit your request on the SPBB form with the purchase offer. Should we be asking any questions with regard to the SPBB form from the listing agent before we submit it? Yes or no? What do you guys think? Brendan, put the wine down and tell me what you think.
Heck no.
Steve says heck
Can you,
no.
can you repeat the question?
Yes.
No,
As
assume the sale.
a buyer's agent, if you know that you're going to make a request for a commission direct from the seller on the SPBB form, should we be asking the listing agent any questions with regard to that form before we submit it?
My answer is going to be have layers to that, to be honest with you.
Thank you very much.
I think that the way that I submit my offers is I'm going to find out if there's somebody that is submitting at 2%. If there is, maybe I'll think about my worth and go, well, I'm just not going to do that. So it's going to depend on what the purchase price is, a couple different factors, I think, for myself. I'm not going to go below 2%. I think ever will.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh gosh. Okay. I think I would, ask the seller. I would talk to the seller. I'd call the seller and ask them if the sorry, not the seller, but the listing agent, and find out if the seller is willing to cooperate for any, and how much are they willing to cooperate for, or what did you talk to the seller about?
What if they say no and nothing?
Well, then I'm going to ask 2.5% because that's what I'm worth.
Okay.
Is that, you want to tell me if there's going to be any pushback with that?
Anybody else have a take on this? You guys understand, you guys understand, I don't have the answer. Like, I haven't done it yet, so I don't have the answer.
I guess if this listing agent says that, no, they're not willing to work, that would tell me in my offer, I need to be above asking at whatever percentage I'm asking. That way, because let's say somebody else comes in at the same offer at asking, we don't have to worry about, we're competitive minus the commissions, I guess.
God, that's smart, Steve. I like that a lot.
So, I mean,
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, you don't really need to ask, but it would definitely let you know where you need to be on your offer a little bit better in that sense.
I'm going to treat it the same way. I'm going to do my regular tactics where I'm going to fish for information. I'm going to see if there are multiple offers. I'm going to ask if the offer in hand has submitted a request for buyer broker compensation. and then go from there. And then we start, you know, doing our chess moves and trying to figure out how we can compete.
There you go. I like that.
So your process isn't really going to change as far as what questions you might ask or what information you might ask for. And you're not necessarily going to specifically ask about compensation, but depending on the answers that you receive, that's going to dictate how your offer has to be structured while considering your request for compensation, right?
Yeah, that's what I would do anyways. I would always find out, by calling the listing agent to kind of fish, like Steve said, you want to kind of know if, what's your competition looking like right now, and what do you have to do to be the one that wins the deal, right? So right now it's still kind of a seller's market. We don't know what's going to happen, as rates change and stuff, but they still kind of hold the keys to the castle. So you want to just always call them and find out, who else is swimming in the lake, right? And then just figure out how you're going to structure by talking to them. And sometimes they'll just tell you where you have to be. People that have been in the business a long time, they'll tell you where you have to be able to win the deal, especially if they're not getting out any offers, right? So, but yeah, I like that idea. And that's something mortgage people would suggest is offering a little bit more to cover like closing costs. And now the the buyer's part of compensation. So that was a good answer.
Yeah, I to tag on to what you guys are saying, I think that it's okay to ask questions about the deal. I think it's okay to ask questions about, are there any other offers? I think it's okay to ask questions about activity. I think it's okay to do all that. I think what I wouldn't do, and maybe where, I started with this, was what I wouldn't do is I wouldn't be one of these people that leads off or gets real quickly to, well, is the seller going to pay a commission or something like that? Sending the message that what I'm really concerned about is whether or not the seller's going to pay a commission. I already know I'm going to make that ask, and I think that the listing agent already knows that you're going to make that ask too. I really do. Like, I don't think that any listing agent out there thinks that their listing, any offer they get on their listing is not going to have that ask. I just don't think that. I mean, I think that on any listing that I put out, whatever offer that comes in, there's going to be an ask. It's just a question of whether or not they make the ask on the right form, honestly, right? So if we know that, and if they know that, I just think you can you don't have to address it right up front. You can stay professional. You can remain appearing professional, and you can say, hey, I want to know about how many are offered, all the stuff that you'd usually ask. I'm not going to repeat it again. I think that that's the best way to go. And I think that that will help you get to where you need to be. And yeah, in some cases, and it's certain particular houses or certain particular markets, Steve and Brendan, who do a lot of work in those arenas, you're probably going to have to get that information and know that whatever you're asking for, if that's 2.5, if that's 2, or if that's 3, whatever it is that you're asking for, you're going to have to be that much over to cover, to bridge the gap. And I just think that's going to be normal. We've talked about that, a bunch of times. Anybody else got something to add on this part of the conversation before we move on?
I think that's a great point, actually. And maybe, we're overthinking this whole thing. Why even ask if they're offering it, especially if there's no offers on the table? The seller does not yet have an offer. You know what? You want an offer? You want to sell your house? Here it is. I'm asking for 2.5%. Why even get involved with, hey, are they going to consider this? Just send it over and see what happens.
Yeah. I think so too. I just don't think that anybody doesn't expect it to come. I just don't. Like, everybody knows it's coming. Hell, MetroList did a damn seminar. They've spent more time on the SPBB form than any other form. More time on that one than any other form. Because that's they know it's going to happen. Yeah, Cindy's got a question.
I'm not on the thing.
But she's not on the thing.
It won't my phone.
Okay, did you write it down or are you just gonna say it and I'll say it?
Oh, so on the webinar that we all listen to it again 3 times repeat.
Yep.
They said that we can put in there into MetroList. Which I thought she said we can put that the seller is willing to pay compensation. But yet I know 2 agents that put that in their listing and they got, the compliance got after them.
I think she misspoke. So
Okay,
Cindy
okay.
said that on the car webinar that was recently put on, that the presenter of the webinar said that it was okay for a listing agent to put that the seller was willing to pay compensation or a commission or whatever word used direct to a buyer's agent, and that was okay to put in the MLS. She also said that she knows 2 people that did that and they got a compliance letter. So I would say that lady probably misspoke. Like,
She seemed to put in the line.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
If you take the buyer, the buyer designation class that's being offered by NAR for free, they'll tell you you cannot, they'll educate you about this fairly thoroughly, and they'll tell you cannot do that. You can't mention compensation at all.
everything that I've read, everything that I've been told, you should just erase that word from your MLS vocabulary. Like, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't risk it. No way, no way. Okay. Anything else on that before we talk about more forms? It's a different form talk than usual. No? Okay. The thing that's got me more concerned than anything else right now, form-wise, is that many of the large conglomerate real estate groups, and when I say that, I mean Coldwell Banker, I mean, Century 21, Remax to some extent. They are creating their own purchase agreements. Okay. I have Coldwell Bankers in a file. I haven't looked at it yet to understand it fully. But as a general rule of thumb, we won't sign in the disclosure process. We won't sign or have our buyer sign or have as part of our file any form that's not a CAR form. Okay. So when the disclosure package comes over, if inside of that disclosure package there is a disclosure that was generated in the buyer's agent's office about property corners, or disclosure that was generated about whatever, and it's not a CAR form that you can find in zip forms, we won't sign it. We'll reject it, right? If it's my listing right now, tomorrow, and somebody from Coldwell Banker brings me a purchase agreement or a request to purchase on a Coldwell Banker purchase agreement copy, I'm going to reject it. Okay. I'm going to tell them you need to submit the CAR RPA for the consideration by my seller. I'm going to reject it. And I think that you should too. And here's why. Okay. With everything that's gone on in the past year and all of the lawyer stuff that's gone on in the past year, the only way that we can be sure that whatever form is being submitted has been run through and approved and looked at by all the CAR lawyers and all the NAR lawyers and everything else. And the only way that we can be sure that there's not something in there that's going to get somebody sued is if it's the CAR form. Okay. For the same reason that I won't let anybody in the office execute a non-office disclosure, I won't let anybody in the office at this point until we're entirely comfortable accept a non-CAR purchase agreement on a listing. Absolutely not, right? It takes one lawsuit, guys, one lawsuit to put us all out of business. Done. Okay. So it's just not smart. It's not wise to accept brokerage specific purchase agreements when they all have access to the car library. They're all members of NAR. They're all members of CAR. They all have access to the car forms. Why the hell wouldn't you use them? They've been massaged and reviewed and gone through and looked through by car lawyers from sun up to sundown 3 times over. Do not bring me a purchase agreement from I know it. I know I can hear it now. Well, our Coldwell Banker lawyers basically work for zip forms and blah 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 blah. Great. Then use the damn form. Okay? We don't need your non-car purchase order. If you ever wonder if a form is a car form, if you look at the title of the form, right underneath it, in parentheses, it says car form blah, blah, blah. CAR form RPA, right? CAR form RLA, CAR form SPBB. If it doesn't say that, you got to know. We're going to reject it, okay? So if you got a listing and you're getting offers, save yourself the pain of me and of Mary, okay? And you get an offer and it's on a non-car form, call that agent right away and say, hey, look, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you for the offer. We're grateful for the offer. Unfortunately, my broker insists that you're going to have to put it on a car form. Okay, you're going to have to use the car form. Use the car form, we'll consider your offer. Use the car form, we'll consider your compensation. Use the car form, we'll consider everything. But we can't do anything on a non-car form. Okay? You are asking for trouble because I'll be completely honest, none of us know enough about the bold new world at this point to know whether or not there's something dangerous in one of those non-car forms. I don't know that. You guys don't know that. I don't know that anybody truly knows that. The only way that we can feel safe and feel 100% compliant and know that we're doing things the way that we need to do to avoid some really bad things from happening is to make sure that we're using the car form and nothing else. There's a car form for everything that has to do with this transition. You remember the
also too, I guarantee. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bryn.
I was going to say that I guarantee if you have a buyer's agent, you say, "Hey, we're going to accept your offer, but I need you to submit on a car form." They will block, guarantee it.
Absolutely. Yeah, good point, Brendan. Thank you. If you tell somebody that you're going to accept your offer, but you need it on a different form, they'll write it up on the car form faster than you know what to do with, right? It'll be DocuSign before you get back from, going to the kitchen to get something to drink.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yep.
You can always put that in the MLS and say, must use car form. Or, you know what I mean? Or the latest versions of the car form for your offers.
You could put that in the MLS, or you could put that in the property information sheet. That's very true. Absolutely. You could do that. There's no risk there.
Not that they'll necessarily follow it, but at least it'll be there.
True. Very true. Where was I? Okay, so no non-car forms, no non-car disclosures. I think we haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure that there's going to be a mess of inter-office disclosures now about all of this that they're going to want to have you sign off on, have your client sign off on. Don't even present it to your client. Just reject it. Better yet, if you use Mary's TC services, the admin in this office, if you use her TC services, she will reject it for you. You won't even ever see it. It won't even ever come up. Okay? The other agent or the other agent's TC will send it over. She'll click the hell no button and it'll be done. Okay? You won't even have to worry about it. She loves that fight. She absolutely loves that fight. Okay? So don't worry about it.
She'll enjoy it, definitely.
She loves it. She absolutely loves it. She's like, I'm gonna tell these sons of bitches we don't do non-car forms. Is that okay? Like, yeah, go tell them. Go do what you got to do. Okay. Okay. Those are the big highlights, guys, and that's a lot. It's a lot of information. Thank goodness that you have spent as much time as you have kind of understanding the process, kind of understanding the concepts of all this, understanding what forms are available. If you haven't yet reviewed that shared drive document that says like updated forms or something like that that I shared with you, there's like 7 forms in there. Please make sure that you go through and read all of those to see which ones are important. I know Brendan's got an open house coming up. Cindy's got an open house coming up. There's an open house form in there that exempts you from agency. Okay. So if somebody wants to tour the house and you're not their agent with a BRBC, if they sign that form, then you can go through, you can show them the house, you can answer questions, you can do all those things with no violation of agency rule. Okay. But if you don't, theoretically, no, not theoretically, in reality, you are working a client without a signed BRBC. Okay. It's stupid. Yes, Cindy, thank you. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. But that's where we are. That's exactly where we are. So you gotta have that done, right? Go through and review those forms. All right. So where we're at, 36. The rest of the time, open forum, open questions. Let's talk about anything that you've got wondering about the practice changes, forms, what we won't accept, what we can accept, what we won't accept, how to write offers, things that you might want to put in an offer, things that you have questions about. Now's the time. Okay. We've got a bunch of really smart people here that have, added to this beyond what I've had to say. And it's been very, very helpful and very, very powerful. Talk about it or comments. Let's hear what you have to say on the Bold New World. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Hold on. Signed my first BRBC today.
Do you work with buyers?
This is buyer that I had before.
Oh, okay, there's
Signed my first BRBC today. Guys, guess how long the conversation took?
1 minute.
1 minute, Don says. Any other guesses?
Almost nothing.
Took 4 minutes. I was all pumped up. I was all fired up. Like I had my bullet points ready to go. I had my show ready to go. I knew what I was going to say. I knew I was getting ready to deal with objections, getting ready to let him know it was all going to be okay. He literally said, he asked me 2 questions. Why do we have to do this? And I explained why we had to do it. And what's the financial impact to me? And I explained probably none, but there could ultimately be a financial impact to you. But if before that ever happens, you're going to know about it and we're going to talk about it. And he said, great, send it over. I'll sign it. I got no problem with that. That was it. That was it. And this guy is a sharp operator. I was pretty nervous, like he was gonna, give it to me, and nothing. So it gave me a lot of I don't know, confidence, knowing that if one of the sharpest operators that I've ever worked with just kind of treated it like a no-brainer, maybe that's what it's going to be. Maybe it's just going to be a no-brainer. Maybe it's not as big a deal as everybody thinks it is. We don't know because we've never asked before. Right? Go into it with that mindset. All right, here we go. Open forum, whatever you got, let's talk about it. Questions you have, worries you have, whatever you want to do, you can share with Don. Share Don's screen.
Might echo from the same rooms.
Just keep your volume.
I've got I've got an interesting side note real quick. I had a client reach out to me, and he's a friend and a client. He's actually a lawyer. And so at times he submits his own offers. He reached out to me recently and said, "Hey, I want to make an offer on this property." The listing agent told me that he didn't care about me being a lawyer. He said, "Go find an agent." And I thought that was real interesting.
The listing agent told the lawyer to go find an agent?
Yes, sir.
Huh. I wonder why he would do that. He or she would do that.
Well, maybe he's more confident that they're up to speed on what's going on and the correct forms that need to be submitted instead of the lawyer trying to play lawyer like Hopewell Baker might be.
Interesting. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
If
That
he's,
makes sense.
if he can't use car forms, we won't accept it.
Another really good point, Steve. Like, unless the lawyer has a car membership and he's going to use car forms, we're not going to take it. Huh. Lawyers are going to be pissed. They're used to being able to just do whatever they want.
This almost specializes, gives us a little more specialty in this niche too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that that's great. I think that if that means that other people in the industry, I mean, let's be honest, for the past 20 years, what the hell has CAR done for us other than take our money? You know, what they've done lately, CAR and NAR, what they've done for the past 18 months and how they've helped kind of protect our industry and protect us and help us find a way through this, I've been pretty impressed by. I mean, at least they've finally done something for the dues money that we pay them, which is huge, right? So if other people in the industry are going to kind of lean on that too, that's very reassuring. I think that that's great. If other people in the industry are going to say, hell no, you know what? You got to go find somebody who knows what the hell they're doing and submit the right forms and everything else, because this is a strange, scary world and I'm not dealing with your, letter of intent. Thanks for bringing that up. Who else?
Did I unmute?
No, just talk. They can hear you.
Oh,
Or
okay.
let me mute. Here, I'll mute. Okay, go.
Okay, so I don't have the form in front of me, but it was on the listing agreement on page 1. I want to say it was 2 D or E where there's an unrepresented buyer.
Yep, I got you.
Okay.
So I know that is negotiable. Do we have to actually fill anything out in there? Because honestly, to me, you have an unrepresented buyer, you're gonna have the buyer's agent in the sense of providing forms, letting them in the house for free, all this baloney that you would have to do anyway, but you're not gonna be representing them, only your seller.
Right.
So that's gotta be compensation or
Right.
something.
Okay, remute. Let me answer that one. You muted? Okay, guys, what they're talking about is on the residential listing agreement, about a quarter way down on the first page of the agreement, there is a line. And the line says, first, the line right above it says, this is what I'm going to charge you to list the property. 2.5%, 3%, whatever it is, right? 4%. Yeah, you got that in you. The next line down says, I charge an additional percentage of X if the property goes into contract with an unrepresented buyer. I need to clarify one thing first so I'm sure that you understand. That does not mean here's what I charge if I double end the transaction. That is not what it means. Okay. What that means is if some buyer wants to buy your house and is not using an agent, AKA someone like the lawyer that Brenda was describing,
With car.
then I charge X amount more. Okay. I like to call it the pain in the ass percentage, right? If an unrepresented buyer buys your house and I'm the listing agent, that unrepresented buyer is going to be a giant pain in the ass. Okay. They don't have a lockbox key. I'm going to have to let them in to see the property. They don't have access to car forms. In order to make sure that we're compliant and don't get sued, I'm going to have to give them the forms. I'm not going to tell them how to fill them out, but I'm going to have to give them the forms. Okay. They don't know, they can't be there to let inspectors in. I'm going to have to let all their inspectors in, right? All of that stuff. So the extra blank money on that line item is for my pain in the butt factor for dealing with an unrepresented buyer. Cindy's second half to the question was, should we put anything there? The answer is yes, hell yes, because if you don't put it in the listing agreement and that person shows up, you're going to have to try and negotiate that with the seller later. And that's going to be difficult, right? So I just did one. Okay. I just did one, just signed it. And I put my pain in the ass percentage was 2.5%.
That's what I initially put.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like if an unrepresented buyer comes along, I'm going to be getting paid like it's dual agency, but it will not be dual agency. Okay. So does that make sense? Now, if you're a listing agent and you want to do dual agency on a transaction, I don't recommend it, but if you want to do it, okay, it's not illegal. The paper flow would look something like this. We've got our listing agreement in place. Everything's in place with our seller. Okay. Someone comes to your open house. They sign the "you're not my agent" form to tour the house. Then when they're doing the tour, they go, you know what? We really like you. Could you rep us on this? Sure, I can. However, before I do that, I'm going to have you sign what? BRBC, right? Now I have a fiduciary relationship with the buyer. I also have a fiduciary relationship with the seller. I've also executed the PRBS form, the possibility of representation, whatever, the dual agency form. I've got all that in place. Okay. When I write the offer for my buyer, I'm going to write an offer to purchase, and I'm going to fill out, Michael, what form is it? Yep, he's saying it. The SPBB form to make a request for my buyer side compensation direct from the seller. I've got all that paper to deal with if I'm going to do dual agency. Okay, makes sense? So two different things. You got the pain in the butt percentage, unrepresented buyer. You want to do dual agency? You want to be a dual agent? That's fine. We need a BRBC from the buyer. We need a purchase agreement from the buyer. We need an SPBB form from you to the seller, making a request for your buyer side commission. Send a good question.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, there's more.
I know I have notes. I was gonna bring all my stuff.
Okay, so my second question is, once a buyer submits, don't know the forms by heart yet, but basically their commission that they are requesting from the seller. So, okay, I agree to 2.5%.
Nothing to do with concessions. If
There's concessions, obviously they're gonna write that in the purchase agreement towards loan, towards, whatever, and after the fact, so once we're in contract, we agree to pay 2.5%. Now they come at the seller and they go, oh man, the pest or the home, whatever. I want some money for that, I want credit. And so they're only doing 3% towards buyer's credit, whatever they're doing on their loan.
Now they want another 3%.
And seller goes, my net's starting to go down. Can we go back to the buyer's agent and ask for commission reduction to make it work? Or is the seller stuck with that 2.5%? Is it negotiable after we have said, yes, we will pay you this amount?
That's where you talk to the agent about the selling price.
Steve, good point. That would be a better way to go. But the answer to Cindy's question also is yes. However, once you make that agreement initially at, let's say, 2.5% to the buyer's brokerage, that's contract, right? That's contract. Can you amend that? Sure you can. But now you're talking about, you can't do that in an addendum or something like that. You need an amendment of terms to that portion of the contract reducing that percentage. So you might have, in Cindy's scenario, you might have a request for repair, right? And that request for repair response might be, fine, we'll give you $5,000 on the request for repair. But oh, by the way, we also want to take 0.25 from the buyer's agent to increase the seller's net. We have to have an amendment of terms.
The modification form they have.
No.
Okay.
No, that's for the listing agreement or the BRBC.
Okay.
A true amendment of terms of contract, I think it's Form AEA. You would have amendment of terms that dictate the new amount of commission, 2.25%. That goes to escrow and everybody else. And then at the end of the day, the seller, the escrow statement is going to show the seller credits the buyer for $5,000. It's going to show a payout from seller to buyer's agent at 2.25 as per the amended terms, and the seller's net goes back up. But to Steve's point, if you're running out of credit and you don't know what to do, maybe the best way to do it is to make up the difference in sales price, right? What you could do.
Oh, coming back
Mhm.
and saying, okay, yes, we agree to this, but now I want my sales price to be 5,000 more, whatever.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's better than doing this amendment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Steve, was that the gist of your answer? Because I was kind of half muted.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So yeah, another good strategy.
Now, don't forget too, and I think there's a lot of different ways to go about this, but don't forget, if you lower your sales price, you're also lowering your commission now. Your percentage is going down.
Absolutely. Everybody's commission's going down if you go negative with the sales price, which is why I resist it all the time. The other thing we've got to think about is if this is late in the game and you play with sales price, you could blow up the loan docs, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes that might not be the best way to go. Sometimes it might be better to do an amendment to commission because the loan docs don't care about that, right? Anything else? Who's next? Who's got something? We're at 52.
All right, I got a question. What's everybody using for prospecting to find leads? I've done fine this year, but obviously, I've got one coming up and I don't have a whole lot of prospecting.
Steve, I'll go first and then everybody else can go. Did you watch, did you go to the YouTube channel and watch that? Oh, and you weren't here last week. Go to my YouTube channel, look in the training vault, look at the video that says how Damian prospects and look at that. That'll give you a real good idea of how I do my electronic and sphere prospecting. And then if you want to get more detailed into after that on an individual basis, as far as prospecting engines or something, we can have that conversation too. Anybody else got any prospecting hints for Steve?
Open houses might be a good one.
Cindy says open houses, prospecting at open houses, working open houses. It's a good one.
Well,
Anybody
I've
else?
always put it out there if you guys want to, talk to me about that, to give me a call or send me a message or something. I am in mortgage and I do have access to lots of things and I'm actually launching a lot of stuff. So if you want to be working together sometime, just reach out.
Okay, good, Julie, thank you.
Can't seem to mute myself.
Jessica, how do you prospect? Because you're running transactions, so you're doing something. What is it? I mean, don't you can't tell us nothing because you're transacting business.
Shark.
I go to work every day and I talk to human beings. That's it.
Yes.
Your sphere prospecting is what you're doing. You've got a very large sphere, and you're staying in front of them and you're letting them know what you do outside of your first job. I'll answer it for you because I know that you do it a lot more than you even know what you do. Jessica is not shy about telling people that she sells real estate. Okay? Not at all. She'll even wear the hat. Mm-hmm.
Not shy.
Have
Not
you guys
shy
seen the
about
hat?
that either.
Have you guys seen the hat?
Mhm.
You can order it on NextHome. It's a trucker hat. It's white and it's got the gray and it's got the dog and it says "Want to buy a house."
I just need that with my orange car and I'm set.
Yeah. Can
Just
I tell
curious-
you a quick? Can I tangent real quick and tell you a quick story about the hat? Okay, because I know Jessica doesn't like the hat, but there was an agent in this area for a long time, and she recently moved to Reno. She's a friend of ours. Okay, so we know her pretty well, and she did a lot of business. Only buyers, right? She was the opposite. Only buyers. She wouldn't take a listing. Only buyers. And I asked her one time, I said, how do you get so much damn business? And she goes, you'll laugh at me. And I go, okay, well, how do you get so much damn business? She goes, I wear that stupid hat everywhere. Everywhere. I wear that hat. That stupid hat's gotten me more business than anything else. So good on you, Jess, for wearing the hat. Any other prospecting?
Oh, I just wanted to do a side note real quick. Jessica, what do you do during your day job, your regular job?
I work at the post office.
Okay, you meet a lot of people.
Yes, I do.
Roseville Post Office, big one. Big sphere. All right, anybody else? Okay, guys, as soon as this dumps to the cloud, I'll put it on the channel. Do yourself a huge favor, watch it again. Okay? Everything's changing. It's changing really, really fast. We've talked about this for a while. This is your opportunity right now to lead the pack of real estate agents, right? You know more than, I promise you, you know more than 95% of the agents in our market. You can speak more intelligently about all this stuff than 95% of the real estate agents in our market. Okay? You've been working on this for a year. A year you've been working on this. You know what to do. You know how to do it. You know what to say. You know how to respond. You've got an answer for everything that's going to come out of any potential client's mouth. Okay. Or anybody that just wants to ask about what's going on. I heard on CNN that like we can do all this for free now. Okay. Like you can address all of that. Get vocal about it. Be Jessica about it. Talk to people about what's going on. Talk to people about real estate. Put your knowledge on display. Okay. And you will reap the benefit of that. You will reap the benefit of that. All right. Everybody else is trying to figure out what the hell's going on and what they're going to do. And they're out there lowballing because they think that that's all that they've got. Okay. You can take business from them and everybody else, but you have to do it now and you have to be vocal about it. You cannot sit in the corner and wait for somebody to come ask you a question. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Okay. I'll put it to the cloud, or as soon as it drops to the cloud, I'll put it on the channel. It'll be on the channel at some point tonight. Watch it again. Right? Anything else? Because I'm going to press the button. What do you got? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go sell a bunch of real estate.